Discipleship determined by historical events. Jesus made discipleship spontaneous, relevant, and progressive. A good example is Matthew chapter 16, verse 13, where he says, "Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" He initiates circumstances which will reveal their flesh and present another opportunity for conversion. The target this time is going to be their belief about the end times. He poses a question and demands an answer in verse 14 through 16. So they said, some say John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. He said to them, "But who do you say I am?" And Simon Peter answered and said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." It is interesting how Peter gets the exact revelation and is then able to speak it forth. That was an attaboy moment for Peter, who did very well, but Jesus was after something else. The disciples were being set up. Jesus was pursuing this line because he was positioning them for the transformation, for a metamorphosis, or a paradigm shift in their thinking. Are we being positioned for a shift in what we are facing? It seems the greatest test of discipleship in my lifetime is upon the church. The next steps unfold in verses 20 through 22. Then he commanded his disciples that they should tell no one that he was Jesus the Christ. From that time, Jesus began to show to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and be raised again the third day. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord, this shall not happen to you." Disciples grow to accept the Master's will when it is diametrically opposed to their own desires, while converts generally do not. Would we say that Peter at this point was a convert or a disciple? From the time Jesus called the 12 disciples, it is obvious at many junctures they acted like converts. They were. Barriers to grow vary. What was their insurmountable barrier? The answer is their religious experience or theological mindset. Jesus said, "Your traditions make the word of God of none effect." The problem was in the area of what they believed. What they had been taught was not entirely accurate, and they needed a conversion of thought. Peter had one mindset concerning the Messiah. He was coming to transform the government and make the Jewish nation the leader of the world. Peter needed a conversion. Perhaps we should realize that those of us in the American church who are expecting the rapture any day may need the same kind of conversion that Peter did. What if persecution is coming and we have to pay the price to birth a new heaven and a new earth? Peter needed conversion because of his eschatology. The prophetic emphasis on the Messiah as judge of all the earth became a barrier, masking recognition of the suffering servant. It is our prophetic emphasis making our recognition. It is possible that we need the same kind of conversion in that same area. Verse 23 says, "But he turned and said to Peter, 'Get behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men.'" How many of us in the church world do the very same thing that Peter did, but in a different way? How many of us, because of the things we do, say, stand for, or align ourselves with, become an offense to God because we are not mindful of the things of God? The degree to which we are not mindful is a discipleship failure. precept upon precept and line upon line. True growth demands change, one step at a time. Each line takes you higher, each precept more deep. A transforming unfolds as God's ways you keep. Thus, precept on precept and line after line, discipling happens, one truth at a time.